WUSA 9 Weather Watch is sponsored by Morgan & Morgan.
We are still tracking Idalia. Time is winding down for this to be a tropical storm. It will continue to weaken as it pulls away from the Carolinas. The good news is that the center of the storm is back out to sea. It's no longer over the Carolinas, but the outer bands are still impacting that area. There were numerous flash flood warnings. As we know, with these tropical systems, they bring a huge amount of rain to the region. So here's what's going to happen in the coming hours. This will continue to curve out to sea, temporarily lose some of its tropical features, and as it gets further out into the Atlantic, it will pick up to be a tropical storm once again and pass over Bermuda likely by Sunday, and that will be the second brush with the tropical system for the Bermuda area. And then from there, it will continue to meander out in the Atlantic through next week. So it's still some time on the clock for Idalia. Also, we have a Hurricane Franklin that also has been passing near the Bermuda area. Thankfully, the center of that storm has not been able to pass across the area, but the outer bands certainly will impact it. But this one will continue to move further out, well out into the Atlantic, and lose its tropical features and just become a low pressure system. So we'll be looking at the remnants then of what was Hurricane Franklin by later on this weekend, especially by Saturday. We'll see it continue to weaken in its trek. But there is another disturbance that we're watching. We also have a tropical storm, Jose, in the Atlantic, not expected to impact land, and then another disturbance coming off the coast of Africa with about a 70% chance for development in the coming days. We will continue to watch all of this happening in the tropics. Let's look at Futurecast for the tropics right now, and it does show that both of these systems will continue to pull away from the area. So here is Friday, tomorrow by noon. We can see that things do begin to clear out for the beaches along the East Coast. Now, even if you do have a trip you're planning to take in those areas, the rip current risk will likely be a little bit higher until these push even further out, at least until about Saturday or so. Between Sunday and Monday, conditions will gradually improve just a bit, but you always have to be on guard for those rip currents. And also, you still have to give time for officials to get cleaned up any areas that were heavily impacted by the storm. So you may just want to check with people who are in those areas, check your reservations to make sure that it's still okay to travel to those areas. Shouldn't be any problems though along our local beaches and down toward the Virginia Beach area. Here's your Saturday at noon. We can see both of these systems have pushed way away from the U.S. and away from most land. So in that regard, things will improve there for us when it comes to rip currents and future storm activity. Here's a look at the rip current forecast. So we can see that between now and Friday, there is a high risk. It should stay the same also for Saturday. And then by Sunday, heading into Monday, just in time for the holiday, that rip current risk will go down. Rather than high, it may be more at a moderate, but still certainly a risk and something you should keep in mind. Aside from that, we don't have any other major impacts from those two tropical systems.
WUSA 9 Weather Watch is sponsored by Morgan & Morgan.